Now, there's a group of people out there today claiming that they don't believe in any of the teachings of Muhammad, but they believe in the Quran. That's kind of funny.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
There's something wrong with your iman, akhi.
A hadith contains two components. It has the isnad, which is the supposed pedigree, and then it's the matan, which is the supposed actual thing that the Prophet was supposed to have said. Well, by definition, a hadith has this isnad, it has this chain of so-and-so told so-and-so told so-and-so. Would you accept that in a court of law? No, it's not evidence. So if it's not evidence, we reject it.
That's kind of funny. And they say they don't believe in hadith. They don't believe in the stories. They don't believe in the narrations coming from Muhammad. They just don't accept the Quran only. How could somebody do that?
تلك آيات الله نتلوها عليك بالحق فبأي حديث بعد الله وآياته يؤمنون ويل لكل أفاك أثيم.
Now, I'm not saying there aren't some good things in the hadith. There are some good things in the phone book, but that doesn't mean that I accept this as a basis for my religion or my soul.
But when people start doing things like this is the worst kind of deviation, because they claim to be Muslim and they're with Muslims. We think they're Muslims, but then they have this sickness inside of themselves, this deviation calling away from the real right path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
قل هو الرحمن آمنا به وعليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين.
But how can I understand the Quran? How can I understand Islam if I don't know anything about Prophet Muhammad? Peace be upon him.
But you can't understand the Quran without the hadith. When was the last time you tried? I have tried, and I've managed to do it. You've had, 1,400 years to do this. How do you know if you've never tried? So basically what it boils down to is people not doing due diligence, not doing their full analysis, and not doing what the Quran tells them to do, which is to consider the Quran with care.
القرآن له أخلاق معرفة. هناك منهج معرفي أخلاقي أمرك عندما تأتي بالقرآن حتى أمر رسوله لا تحرك لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه. أمر بالتأني والتدبر وتقرأه على الناس على مكث. هذه آداب من لم يلتزم بها لن يفهم القرآن.
What they're doing is they're following in their father's footsteps. They're following what their fathers told them is true. The Quran addresses this very clearly, as anybody who knows the Quran will know. The Quran says, but what if their fathers knew nothing? Whilst they would have you accept that in order to engage with this book, that you have to accept this completely different body of literature created, in my opinion, by the Brzezinskis and Kissingers of the day, frankly by Persians, and it's true that the compilers of the so-called Sahih compilations of hadith were all Persian.
دخلها الإسلام وكانت مركز الحضارة، بل هي قلب الدول الآسيوية كما يقال، وكان ماضيها مشرقا. لاحظ العلماء خرجوا منها، جل العلماء خرجوا منها، والفقهاء وأهل السنة أهل الحديث والشعراء والنجباء والحكماء. من يصدق أن موطن الإمام مسلم والبخاري أصح كتابي بعد كتاب الله كان صاحبيه من إيران؟
البخاري فارسي.
لا 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 ليس فارسي، ليس فارسي،
عربي،
ليس فارسي، ليس فارسي، وابن سينا ليس فارسي. هذيك كل هذاك التاريخ مكذوب، تاريخ كتبه الأوروبيون والفرس.
أخرجت لك كلام العلماء، علماءكم يقولون أن البخاري فارسي. ليسوا عرب، ليسوا عرب.
ليسوا عرب، وكذلك أكثرية العلماء الذين ظهروا في الدين منهم الفرس، احنا لا ننكر منهم بعض الفرس، ولكن ليس كلهم.
الإمام الطبري، الإمام أبو حامد الغزالي، مجموعة الإمام الرازي والسرخسي وغيرهم كثير كانوا كلهم من هذه البلاد. عدد من العلماء كابن خلدون وغيره يتعجب، يقول أنا أقول أنه لا يمكن يكون عالما إلا أعجمي. هذه كناية على كثرة العلماء الذين خرجوا، إلا أعجميا، وإن لم يكن أعجمي، يعني لو كان عربي فإن مشيخته ومرباه قطعا سيكون أعجميا.
البخاري ليس فارسي، البخاري ليس فارسي، ليس المنطقة
بخارى.
لا، وبخارى ليست الآن البلوش تابع لإيران، هم إيرانيين.
بخارى يا أخي بلاد فارس، بخارى شمال إيران.
لا حول ولا قوة.
من اللي يغلط على الرسول كل يوم؟ احنا اللي نغلط.
كيف؟
بتأويلنا وتفسيرنا الأحاديث وإظهارنا أحاديث كذب وخرافات وين شايف النتائج؟
How many of you agree that the punishments described in the Quran and the Sunnah, whether it is death, whether it is stoning for adultery, whatever it is, if it is from Allah and His Messenger, that is the best punishment ever possible? Who agrees with that?
Quran and Sunnah.
Today, majority of so-called Muslims, which they are not, they follow two different religions with different sects. Sunni religion, Shiite religion, and Sunni religion have 4 surviving sects: Hanafi, Shafi'i, Hanbali, and Maliki. And Shiite have Zaydi, Jafari, and Isna Ashar, whatever. Okay? And these are 2, in fact, different religions because they have different sources of religion. Other than the Quran, they make it up. Therefore, they are different than Islam. Islam has only one source, the Quran.
So when you say you don't accept the hadith, a Muslim doesn't hear those words. He hears this man disregards the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and then he feels quite right and justified in attacking you. But he hasn't done his homework. And whilst that is something I've become used to, both in my own culture and in my dealings with Islamic culture, I have done my homework. And my homework shows me that the hadith literature, which contains some good, some bad and indifferent, that shouldn't surprise us, is all hearsay. By definition, it's hearsay. Muslims won't disagree with you. They know that it's hearsay. But to them, hearsay is acceptable. So-and-so told so-and-so told so-and-so told so-and-so told so-and-so that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said such and such. Maybe. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Who knows? Maybe it's a complete load of rubbish. Maybe it was just made up. And yet, we're expected to entrust our eternal souls to this literature. Well, I won't do it. I have no pre-existing allegiance to this nonsense. He says, I have submitted to the Lord of the worlds. He doesn't say, oh yeah, I've become a Sunni Muslim of the whatever madhab, and I pray at these particular times and I hold my hands in this particular way. No, this is rubbish. And I think any intelligent person knows this. It's just we've been lacking people. Well, actually, we haven't. There are people who have always stood up and said this. But I'm explaining why I don't accept it. And I don't accept it. I really don't care if I'm the only person in the world that doesn't accept it. I don't. It's foolishness and obvious foolishness. And worse than being obvious foolishness, I grew up in a society which is obviously foolish. So, Islam has no monopoly on stupidity, believe me. But it's particularly pernicious, obvious foolishness because it detracts from the Book of God. And it means that people judge the Book of God incorrectly and upon wrong evidence. It's a tragedy that God gave us this revelation and we have been denied access to it by people who frankly don't follow it but claim monopoly rights over it. I urge those who understand this and are open to a revelation from God on the basis of its own merits and not those of a religion created much later to consider its contents for themselves.